What is the most common error or misconception that you encounter about coaching? It feels like a lot of people have their own opinion of what coaching should be. And I just want to know from you, what is it that you encounter on a regular basis where you say, maybe that's not quite what I do as a coach?
Well, like something that I've noticed a lot of other coaches do, they think the coaching position, they think the title is what should give you respect. And I think this is really a horrible way to go around it because, we're not in an era where teachers get to hit children because they don't respect them. I think it's something that goes both ways. Respect is a two-way street. And also a very common misconception is that coaches are only people that should know things about the game. Like, oh, you have some guy that watches LCK, that makes a good coach. I think that's such a weird way to view it because I know a lot of coaches that have been in LCS that see the coaching role like this. Oh, I do the strategies. That's what a coach is. But I think that's very wrong. I think the coach is there to make sure that the path is set for the players for success, for efficient practice, and make sure that the players are on that track. Because the players are like this endless kind of well of information that you can piece together to make your own puzzle in a way. And I think that's the role of a coach.
Have you ever had issues building that respect with players? And if so, how do you work around that?
Well, like I think it was easy for me in the start because I'm fortunate to be in this position where I can say I've been where you are at right now. I think sympathy and empathy and understanding is the easiest way to build it. And I think also on top of that, honesty is key. And I think this is just this is what comes out of good character. I feel like I'm bragging about myself, but I'm trying to remember what your question was. You were talking about respect. What was your question again? Sorry.
Specifically, how you overcome situations where you don't have that respect from players, and you need to build it.
Well, it really depends on the situation, right? It's a kind of a broad question, but I think if you are starting from scratch, it's I think a proper work ethic and acting as a role model is the first step. If you have expectations from your players, then you have to be able to set them on yourself. Like I try to always in front of the players work as hard as I possibly can so I can tell them to do the same. And same with staying on time and things like this. This is something that was a weakness of mine in the past, but I feel like the past years I've matured a bit because, I made this transition where I only had one responsibility in life, and it was League of Legends, which was very easy to keep track of. But as you grow up a bit, you realize that there are other things, and you need to balance it out properly. And this is something that I've learned personally the past 2 years at least.
I wanted to ask about your coaching career and your favorite moment during it so far, like a specific moment that you'll never forget from your coaching career.
I think, well, I'm going to only speak for myself. I think like every coach has this, well, I'm not speaking for myself when I say that. Well, I have this vision, whenever I'm in a team is you have this vision of how things should be if things go perfect, right? This is like when all the things that you have in your mind just fall into place and you have like this idea of perfection with these 5 pieces. When that happens, it's like, wow, I'm so happy, and this is what I envisioned, right? And I truly felt this feeling the moment we played the 5th game against Unicorns of Love and in the Gauntlet with Splyce, of course. It was the game that would take us to Worlds. When you go into game 5, there's a lot of emotion going on, there's a lot of stress, but it felt like everything that we've been working on the past year in that moment just fell into place. Everyone was communicating, everything was flowing, all these rivers all these rivers were just connecting into one, and everything was just flowing. And seeing that and hearing that was just, wow, this is the moment that it's the most necessary, and it was happening. And I couldn't help myself but to shed a few tears because, it wasn't only about qualifying to Worlds for the first time in my career. It was about the team really coming together and giving their absolute best in this key moment of everyone's career.
So fast forwarding a bit to now, what made you choose Vitality as your new home?
Vitality, it's always been a very interesting project. Like, I was very curious about Vitality even at the time when Vitality bought the Gambit slot. Like, I wanted to be a part of that team. This was right after I left Rocket, and I was supposed to move on. Vitality, as a project, I look at the budget they have when it comes to players and the kind of roster they had last year, or last split, I mean, and it just feels like they just came up short. And I feel like with the right system and with the right attitudes, I think they can become so much more than they were last split. And I truly believe in every single player on this roster, and I think they deserve to be a lot more than they were last split, and I think they have it in them. And I want to be a part of that. I want to, of course, be there when it happens, because I think, looking at this roster, they should do good.
That's a very interesting comment, and I actually was going to ask you about that, because I think if you look at the Team Vitality roster on paper, I think everybody was maybe expecting more than what we got in the spring split. So I wanted to ask, what are some immediate, or what is an immediate area for improvement that you see in this team just based on spring split?
Well, it seems like Vitality fell to this Korean import fever, right? Like, they got Hashani over, and he had his own issues with insomnia, I think it was. Is it insomnia when you have trouble sleeping? That's the word, right?
Yeah.
And they ran into some communication problems. They didn't know how to balance it out. They were switching between roles, and it just felt like they weren't on one path at all times. And I feel like now, when I have a roster of 5 players, I can give them the full trust and the encouragement that they need. When previously last split, it was kind of chaotic because it was a stressful environment for them, because they didn't know if another player would come in, or if something would be switched out, or if something would be changed. And I think that's a very hard environment to work in. And I think the trust needs to be there again between the players and from the coaching staff as well.
So you've already touched on something that I wanted to ask about, which is the all-European roster. And in the announcement for you as the coach, it was sort of implied that this is your preferred direction, to have an all-European roster.
Like, I'm the type of person that will say, like, regardless if someone's from Zimbabwe or Korea, I don't really care about that. I think I rate players based off of their skills, and some European players also don't know how to communicate. Some Korean players don't know how to communicate, can communicate, and they have skills, they don't have skills. I just measure them against each other. I don't really look at where they are from. And in this case, there are, of course, European players that are in teams and they are just quiet and they don't listen. This happens too. So I just want to put that out there, because, just because he's European doesn't mean he can communicate instantly, right? Because, of course, in Europe, we also have players from different countries and different accents. There are also some barriers to overcome. But in this case, looking at the support pool we could choose from, Vander was the clear winner. Vander is a fantastic player. I loved working with him over in Rocket, and at the same time, I know he can communicate, and I know he would fit in an all-European roster. Sure, it makes it a lot easier that everyone speaks the same language from the get-go, of course. But Vander just measured higher than any player that was available in any region, of course. And already now, from the time I worked with him in Rocket, I see him I see the same old Vander in him, but you can also see a progress in his own personal growth and matureness, and that's also very fun to see when you get to reconnect with players that you worked with in the past.
Okay, I wanted to ask a little bit about a promotion in the EU LCS. So we recently had two teams that were owned by other organizations, like the Spot was owned by Misfits. We had Misfits Academy as well, and also Fnatic and Fnatic Academy. And in Fnatic's case, that team was ultimately acquired by Ninjas in Pyjamas, but none of those players will be playing for that organization. And you sort of tweeted about this before it happened. I think it was about a week and a half ago. You tweeted that essentially, if you can't prove that you're top 50 in the EU LCS, it doesn't matter if you were promoted, you still don't belong there. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, the core thing that that is a part of this is that if the 10 LCS teams in EU don't want you on the roster, then you don't belong, because that's just how ultimately it is. Like, have you ever seen a team in, for example, if a team promotes in Premier League or in any league in the world, and all of a sudden they have so much more to work with and they have a budget to spend, of course they will upgrade their players. They don't have any kind of responsibility to make sure that they play. This is not some, this is business. This is not, oh, good job, you qualified, here you go, you get to be an LCS, man, good job. This is not how it works, right? It's a player's responsibility to make sure that you negotiate your terms. If it says in the contract, if you qualified and you get to play in the LCS, sure, there you go, you got something good. If you qualify to the LCS, you get the cut of the sale, sure, that's also the case, right? But you have NiP, they're investing a lot of money. They are the ones that take decisions for their own investment. They are not thinking, oh, guys, you are nice people, you qualified, this is welcome to the team. No, that's not how it works. They have to make a business decision, acquire players based on their expertise, even though I think they could have done better in their acquisition. I think in the end, they have to protect their own investment, and you can't really mix emotions into this. I don't think qualifying to the LCS means that you're going to play in the LCS, unless it states so in your contract.
But doesn't it feel like there's sort of a feeling that Challenger Series and being promoted to the LCS is sort of this path to pro that exists? Like, even if you and I can both say that's not how it works, it feels like this is sort of a narrative that exists, that people feel like, oh, I made it to the LCS, so I should be able to play there.
But the thing is, if you are going to be a part of Fnatic Academy, Misfits Academy, then you know that if you qualify, your spot is going to be sold. And all these players, their contracts ended. Their contracts ended, and that's how it is. They are free agents, and there is nothing that connects them to the LCS but after that. And, sure, you can feel bad for them all you want, but in the end, that's how business functions, right? You need to be able to, like in a free world, and in capitalism, that's how it works, very much. You protect your investment, you make your own choices.
Were you surprised at all that there were these very strong reactions from some of the players who were members of Fnatic Academy, for example, that they were surprised seemingly that this had happened?
Of course I can empathize with them. They worked very hard, blood, sweat and tears. It's very tedious to get into EU LCS. There's a lot of stress, and they put a lot of hours into it. You can sympathize with this. I think anyone can. I can feel bad for this. And in the end, if it's not written in ink and signed by the right people, then that's how it is. You need to prepare yourself for the worst, and that's just how the world works. Of course, I feel bad for them, but this is how it is, and no one can change that. Right now, at least.
So I guess I want to go out on sort of a high note instead of a somewhat depressing note. And I want to ask you, for the 2017 spring split, who was the player in the EU LCS that surprised you the most? Like, as a coach, looking at this situation, player evaluation, seemingly would be part of something that a lot of coaches would have to do. So what surprised you the most?
Like, you mean all across the board?
Yeah, like which specific player, yeah.
I think the team that I'm looking at right away is Unicorns of Love, because everyone had so low expectations of them. Actually, everyone always does in every split. Like, oh, Unicorns of Love, they lost 3 players and they replaced them with who are these people? This Hecarim one trick and this guy called Samux that played top lane back in season 3. You know, what the hell's going on? You know, this is relegation material. That's what people said. You know, and then eventually they come in swinging, and they start smashing people. And I think if I look at that roster, you know, I had very low expectations of Samux, and I saw him in solo queue, looked better than I expected when I scouted him out, but I didn't have as high expectations as second place, right? And the same for Xerxes. You know, I in my mind, you know, when I heard Xerxes at the time, was like, oh, Hecker and one trick. And then he came in and did these great things. I think Unicorns of Love as a whole was the most kind of impressive thing that happened in this spring split.
If you had to explain why it happened, do you have any ideas? Because even sometimes when I think about their split, it seems still almost unbelievable that they did that.
You know, it's like, there's something about Unicorns of Love that just ticks me off, you know, this pinkness and this unicorn and, you know, all this stuff that is going on about these memes about how friendship is magic and holy moly. Something about this is just, it just makes my stomach turn. You know, I hate this idea, but no one in the right mind would not respect Unicorns of Love, because it seems like their business model is, like from what I've heard, their business model is very successful in that sense that it's built like a proper business, is just what I heard. And it seems like the system that Shippy has built up works, because they keep integrating, I don't even know how to pronounce this word. They keep bringing new players. I'm just going to switch it up completely. They keep bringing new players that no one has any expectations of, and they do magical things with these players. So I just have so much respect for them, and Shippy has found the formula to his own team. Regardless if people want to say it's chaos style or whatever, I think in this split, you know, I thought their playstyle would die out, because they kind of have this tendency to play and prey on people's mistakes. And the further you go into a split, the less mistakes usually happen. Usually in the start, everyone's kind of all over the place, and Unicorns of Love were very good at punishing that, but they adapted very well to the meta, and I thought they would fall off, but they didn't. They had this, you know, Vichisachi, he came in with playing Rumble, and all these new things came into play, and they kept adapting and improving, and they were certainly impressive throughout. I actually think Shippy was robbed of coach of the split, to be honest. No offense to you, Prolly. I love you, Prolly.
I was a little bit in that camp too. I couldn't believe some of the acquisitions they made and Samix on such short notice. I was very surprised by that. But I want to ask you, YamatoCannon, is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything else that you want to say to your fans, Team Vitality's fans?
Oh, well, hopefully we can make you proud. I am sure, like, we've been practicing now for, how much is it, a couple of weeks, and we are coming in swinging. You know, we are working very, very hard, and we are trying to become as good as we possibly can, and hopefully we can make all of you proud. I am very grateful to be on Vitality, and I'm grateful to of course, be a part of EU LCS and a part of League of Legends in general. I'm forever grateful for that, and I would like to thank anyone that is part of the scene that makes it so big and so great. So thank all of that. I want to send my thanks to all of you.
Great, thanks so much. I really appreciate you making time. That was it was a great interview. I'm very, very happy with it. And
thank you very much, man. Thank you.
Best of luck in the summer split.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content, be sure to hit that subscribe button.